you're looking to dive into topics on how to live a happier, healthier, more fit, and long lifespan, then you've come to the right podcast. Livin the Dream with me, Coach Damian Evans. Together, we will explore the topics on all things health, fitness, and wellness. Together, we will be lifelong learners on this journey to living the ultimate dream. What up, Dream Team? Coach D here, coming at you from beautiful sunny San Diego, and welcome back to the Livin the Dream podcast, where we start the weekend strong by covering how to properly care for ourselves based on what works best for us individually and in order to reach for our health, fitness, and wellness goals, and in order to live your dream life. And today we're going to be talking about how sore is too sore. Today we're tackling a question that's been on everyone's mind, and that is how sore is too sore. You know, that post-workout achiness that just leaves you questioning whether you've pushed yourself too far or if that soreness is going to turn into gains. But before we jump into the soreness saga, let's paint a little picture here. Picture this: you've just crushed a workout. You're feeling that burn in all the right places. Sweet victory. But hold up. What's that? The next day rolls around and suddenly you can barely move without wincing in pain. You're incapacitated. Sound familiar? This is called DOMS, D-O-M-S, delayed onset muscle soreness. And online, there are memes for days and days about leg DOMS, leg day DOMS, not being able to walk upstairs or get up off the toilet. This, my friends, is the magic of muscle soreness. And it is a telltale sign that you've put in some serious work. You have created some muscular damage in a good way. Maybe not. Here's the thing. While a little soreness can be a good thing, too much of it can actually hinder your progress. It's crazy, right? One of our first ever episodes on the Livin the Dream podcast, you can scroll all the way down and you can check it out. It says why soreness and sweating are not good indicators of a good workout. Yes, soreness says that there has been some damage done, but it's not a great proxy to tell whether the workout was effective or not. But you see, exercise is this stress stimulus, whether it's running, whether it's sprinting, whether it's lifting weights, whatever the exercise is, it's a stimulus to your body and your muscles, triggering a cascade of physiological responses. But here's the kicker. It's in your recovery phase. It's in your recovery phase where all the magic happens. Everything that you want out of your exercise, it comes from the recovery phase. I did not learn this for a very, very long time. I paid for a college education that really did not stress this as much as I thought it should have. Now looking back on it years and years later. That's right. While you're chilling on the couch, while you're in bed, you're catching some Z's, you're dreaming, your body is busy repairing and rebuilding, stronger than ever before. It's called the repeated bout effect. When you stimulate a muscle and you stimulate it with enough load to create change, to create damage, to create stress, your body rebuilds that tissue. It's like, oh my goodness, I could not handle the stress that this activity put on me. I need to rebuild bigger and better so that the next time this exact same stress happens, I can handle it. And it's the repeated bout effect where you can handle the same stress. So you need to then stress it a little bit more in order to create another adaptation. And that is what progressive overload is all about. And we've talked about a little bit about progressive overload before, and we'll continue to talk about it in the future. But here's where things get interesting. There is a sweet spot when it comes to your recovery. If you think about it, too much downtime, and you're going to risk losing all those hard-earned gains. I see it all the time in group fitness. Someone comes and they haven't worked out in 10 years. They do a workout and they work out so hard like they used to work out in college or when they were an athlete, and they crush themselves. Their soreness persists for days and days. They don't come back, and they decide, that was just not for me. And too much downtime, they've lost all the hard-earned gains from that workout. That's why I always say, start slow, start small. It's not about short-term intensity. It's about long-term progressively overloaded consistency. On the other side of the coin, not enough downtime, and you're setting yourself up for burnout and injury. I see this all the time, especially in ex-athletes or type A, go, high achievers, high performers, cortisol junkies. They think that every push-up they do is getting them closer and closer to their goal. So why not do push-ups all day long, every day, to the max effort? Because that's going to set yourself up for burnout and injury. You're not giving yourself the time you need for your recovery phase to do its magic. It's all about finding that Goldilocks zone, the perfect balance between stress and recovery. And speaking of balance, I want to talk a little bit about one of my favorite topics when it comes to training. It's called supercompensation. Supercompensation. I want you to picture this. You push yourself to the limit during a workout. And when you push yourself to the limit, you cause a temporary dip in performance. If you were to do blood work before you entered a workout, and then you did blood work immediately after leaving that workout, if all the doctor had in front of him was the paper that had your blood work, they'd be like, whatever you did in between these two things, never do it again. This right here is a terrible change when it comes to your health. You actually look worse off than you started, depending on how hard you went, of course. But this temporary dip, fear not, your body is going to respond. It's going to bounce back stronger than ever, reaching new heights of fitness and strength. It's like leveling up your game of gains. Now, picture your baseline, your homeostasis, where your body wants to live. That right there, that homeostasis, when you work out, you're creating a stress to the body and your performance dips down, your strength dips down, your any type of goal that you have, whatever it is, you're actually a little bit worse after you exercise. Your body then, in recovery, it super compensates past your homeostatic baseline and it actually rebuilds you bigger, better, stronger, faster. But there's a timeline because once it goes up above baseline, it starts to come back down and it'll eventually settle right back at homeostasis. And if you think in the long term, it actually declines just a little bit, progressively declining as we age and as we go into the future. So here's what supercompensation is. If you could see this graph in live time, and I have a feeling that eventually we're going to have a device on our body that measures all of our physiologic results from exercise and responses from exercise, and it's going to tell us exactly when we need to work out, exactly how hard we need to work out, and exactly for how long in order to get that perfect supercompensation. Our goal is, and this has been something that exercise scientists have tried to nail and are still trying to figure it out. But if you could draw this on a whiteboard, the homeostatic line, you stress the body, that body dips and the responses dip from the homeostatic line, and then it starts to rebuild. And as you come up above baseline, where you're getting stronger, better, faster, at the peak of that dip, at the peak of that increase before it starts coming down, if you can stress the body again, then it's going to dip and it's going to bounce back even higher. And then stress at the peak of it and then dip and go back even higher. And if you could do this over time, you would be able to see a linear progression of you getting stronger, better, and faster. Now, the thing is it's a moving target. Just like when we track our exercise, just like when we track our calories in and calories out and things that we've talked about on this podcast before, it is a moving target because there are thousands, millions, trillions, who knows how many variables there are when it comes to this. But just having an idea of exactly just the idea of what supercompensation is so important to understand that when you stress the body, you recover from the body, you get stronger. Before you can go too far into that recovery, you want to stress it again, and that is going to be the goal. So make sure that you have those breaks in between your training and make sure that you listen to your body. Your body will tell you when you're starting to feel weaker, burnt out, slower, when the weights that you grab feel heavier than they should. Those are signals that your recovery time has not been enough. Now, on the other side of the line, if you're holding on to the 5-pound weights and you do the same reps, the same weight, the same exercise day in, day out for year after year, your body has adapted. You are no longer getting, well, I won't say you are no longer getting benefits. You might be getting some benefits from the movement that you're doing, but you're not maximizing the time that you're investing in the gym. That time is so valuable. So that kind of shows just a kind of simple look at how the stress recovery, stimulus, and response works in the body. And you will get sore, and it will be sort of linear to how much muscle growth or progress you see in the gym. But over time, there is a diminishing return in the sense that you cannot continually get super sore and expect better results to continue happening. So what is soreness? Soreness is essentially just damage to the muscle tissue, muscle damage. And for a long period of time, it was believed that muscle damage directly correlated to muscle growth. It led to muscle growth. However, we now believe that it's more likely just an indirect part, just one small part of muscle growth, meaning that it's part of the process, but it may not be the causation of your muscle growth, of your strength gain, of your performance increase. So, do you even need to get sore? Really, if it's not the direct cause of growth, why do we experience it? Well, knowing that soreness is muscle damage, and that although muscle damage might not lead directly to muscle growth, it is, however, a part of the muscle growth journey. I think it's best to say that some muscle soreness is helpful and necessary, and it shows us that something was done in order to create change. Too much is going to be counterproductive and unnecessary. It's a really, really fine line here. And your genetics and your prior experience with training and your nutrition and your sleep and your stress management, all of these things are going to be factors into how you can handle more and more stress or less and less recovery. Experiencing soreness can be a signal telling you that you're training productively, near max efforts to build muscle. But lack or complete absence of soreness, this can also mean that your training might not be as productive as it potentially could be. Training too far away from failure or maximum efforts. You'll notice that if you never really go towards that side of things where you're working out really hard, you may just be kind of spinning your wheels and either maintaining or not really getting much benefit at all. So that leads us to our next commonly asked question. How often should I feel sore? How often? Muscle soreness shouldn't linger on for days and days, but it also shouldn't be absent for weeks on end either. So in practicality, here are some things that I suggest. Number one, if you're sore for days and it's negatively impacting your future sessions or it's impacting your day-to-day life, if you find yourself unable to get up off the couch without screaming in agony, if you can't even sit up in bed because your abs are torn apart from a 4-hour ab session, that is a sign that you need to reduce your volume and your intensity. But number two, on the other side, if you're never sore at all, then it's definitely time to increase your volume or your intensity or the exercises that you're choosing. Volume is simply sets times reps times weight. So if I did one set of 10 reps of 10 pounds, then that's 1 times 10 times 10. I did 100 total pounds of volume. Intensity can be measured in lots of different ways. I'm not going to get into that on this episode, but there's an RPE scale, a rate of perceived exertion scale, where you can measure how much intensity you're using. But anyway, you know how hard you're usually going. You need to increase the effort. You need to increase the volume, the sets, the reps, the weight, or you need to progress the exercise. A simple bicep curl is not going to be as effective as a barbell back squat or a goblet squat or a Bulgarian split squat or a compound lift like a deadlift or a bent over row. These are big exercises. A reverse grip chin up might even do just as much effort on your bicep as a standard bicep curl. Bicep curls are great, but if you've been doing bicep curls with 5 pounds, 10 reps for the last 20 years, you need to progress the exercise. Get up there and do a reverse grip, chin up, pull up, maybe assisted with a band, maybe get a barbell and do a bent over reverse grip barbell row and get some biceps involved. You want to try to progress something if you're never sore at all. Soreness and experience levels. It's also important for me to tell you that as you become more and more experienced, it's more likely that you will experience less and less soreness. The more experienced you are, usually the less soreness that you experience. But this lines up well with the proven fact that as you become more experienced, your rate of muscle gain also slows down dramatically. So although nothing here can be proven, I still believe some soreness is good for everyone, and too much soreness simply isn't. It's just as you become more experienced, it's more challenging for you to achieve these type of things. You're going to hit this point where you get less and less results, and the last 2 or 3% that you have to squeeze out is going to be way harder than the first 2 or 3% that you were able to knock off or to gain. Managing your soreness. Let's talk about managing your soreness. We need to manage all of this in order to create that optimal stress/recovery relationship. This is because stress and recovery are essentially battling each other during the muscle building process. Number one, stress needs to be great enough to elicit an adaptation response. But number two, recovery has to be prevalent enough to allow that adaptation to fully occur, the sweet spot. Therefore, if we have too much muscle damage, recovery can't keep up, and continued stimulus in preceding gym sessions cannot be accomplished. Or if they are accomplished, you'll reach that point of burnout or injury. The body will let you know. So let's go through some take-home points here before we finish this episode. Some take-home points are: muscle damage isn't good or bad. It's just a thing that occurs from hard training. It is a signal that is sent that can help you. It's some data that you can use to decide what your next decision should be. It's course correcting. It's trial and error. It's sending you a signal saying, okay, this is how much damage you did. Now make sure that you do an optimal amount of recovery, and that's going to be different for every single person. Number two, however, hard training is required for muscle growth. Hard training is required for muscle growth. Therefore, soreness due to muscle damage is going to be part of the process in which we really cannot, and we probably should not, avoid. Do not avoid getting sore, but also don't use it as a proxy for the most effective workout in the world. Understand that hard training is going to elicit soreness, and that is required for change. Uncomfortable to change, challenge to change. Number three, soreness shouldn't linger on for days and days. It shouldn't cause future training sessions to suffer, but it also shouldn't be non-existent, as that may mean that your training isn't going to be productive in the future. So it shouldn't go on for days and days, but it also should be prevalent sometimes. Soreness that lingers too long is a sign that you need to lower your volume intensity. But never being sore is a likely sign that you need to increase your volume or intensity, or, if necessary, change in exercise selection. Your body will adapt. The repeated bout effect. It'll adapt to the stresses, and then it needs more progressive overload in order to get more change. And lastly, as we gain more and more training experience, we will get less and less soreness, as our gains will be less and less prevalent too. So the strategy here is, friends, I'm telling you, it's just like with anything else. Start slow, start small. Create a foundation, and that foundation is a habit that you can maintain consistently. Whatever your workout routine is, whether it's spin, group fitness, resistance training on your own, powerlifting, whatever your training is, it will not be effective unless you are consistent with it. So find something that you can do long-term, Get your schedule and your routine down. Start slow, start small. The first few workouts that you do should be laughably easy. You should not jump into a group fitness experience and try to do it at the same intensity as all the other people in that studio that have been doing it for years and years on end. Start slow, start small. Find your routine. Once you find your routine, you can slowly amp up your intensity, your volume, your effort. You want to make sure that you listen to your body the day after your exercise routine, your fitness routine, your workout, and listen to the soreness. It is a signal as to what to do next. If you are super sore, you are tender to the touch where it's like, oh, please don't touch that, or you can't even move doing your normal day-to-day movements without feeling incapacitated or altered in some way. You need more rest. You need more recovery. When you feel that soreness, think about eating lots of protein, getting the building blocks that is going to help repair that tissue, getting sleep. Your sleep is going to be the biggest factor, and it's going to put you into the most anabolic rebuilding state that you can possibly be. So if you think about it, if you overtrain and you go too hard, and then you go out to a music festival that weekend, and then you go to a bunch of parties and stuff, and like all of this stress on the body that's not allowing the body to recover, you might not get sick then, but as soon as you stop everything you're doing and your body has an opportunity to know it's safe, you will get sick. That is exactly what happens when people travel a lot and they are all get around a lot of germs, and they do not give themselves the time to recover. And once everything is chill, that's when the body shuts down and is like, oh, now you have to pay for all the things that you didn't do along this process. So listen to your body. Do the adequate things you need to do in order to recover from that stress. And I guarantee you, it is a fun game to play once you really get the hang of it, trying to find that sweet spot of super compensation and just level up in the game of gains. You can do it. It's really important. If this is something that it just goes over your head, get a professional that can help design a program for you. This is what we went to school for as personal trainers. This is definitely, there's an art to it and a science to it, and having someone like that you can bounce ideas off of and talk to about how sore you're getting is super important. But yes, the recap is, how sore is too sore? The amount of soreness that you do not recover from. So hopefully that helps, guys. And that's it, my friends, for this Self-Care Saturday episode of the Livin the Dream Podcast. Please share the knowledge that you gain with your friends and family and hold each other accountable. If you enjoyed this content, it helps a ton if you could post on your social media stories a screenshot of this episode and include one takeaway that you learned, and make sure that you tag me and share your journey. Tag me at livingthedream_podcast or at coachdamian_SD, and let us know how this episode benefited you. And if you could do it real quick, scroll down and leave a review to this podcast. That is an incredibly helpful, non-cost way to help support this podcast. That helps get this podcast into other people's ears. Also, let us know what we missed. Let us know what we got wrong. Tell us how you have measured your soreness as a proxy for a good workout. Message us if you have any suggestions or tips that would help your Livin the Dream team that we can discuss on future episodes. I'll be right here with you, working on making us stronger, happier, and healthier humans. Until next time, friends, keep living the dream.